So, I've said that I don't want the course to be too bogged down by theory and legislation, but of course to be informed by it. So as briefly as is appropriate for legislation. In the 1960s and 70s, there was a move towards mainstream schools accommodating and supporting and educating children with special educational needs, that there wouldn't be an automatic assumption that that take place somewhere else. The 1993 Education Act was another key piece of legislation, which mandated that all schools cater for students with SEN and schools have that named SENDCo. So that became a statutory requirement that all schools are saying, our principal is this person and our SENDCo is this person. In the Code of Practice 2001, not the recent Code of Practice, but prior to that, the SENDCo role became more about being a coordinator of provision, not delivering everything, but coordinating that. And that was really taken a big step further in the most recent Code of Practice of 2014, with the SENDCo as a strategic leader. So viewing SEN, acknowledging that SEND is a whole school priority, and mandating that the person who's a SENDCo is a qualified teacher. So you are someone who is leading on teaching and learning for SEND within a school and working with many stakeholders. To talk a bit more about the Code of Practice, it's worth just touching on the current duties of the SENDCo as they are listed within the Code of Practice, and just talking about those a little. So the first one, determining the strategic development of SEN policy and provision in the school, having day-to-day responsibility for the operation of SEN policy and coordination of specific provision made to support individual pupils with SEN. So you'll see that from a sort of strategic point and then going to a very operational point there. And then providing professional guidance to colleagues and working closely with staff, parents and other agencies. So clearly you are needing to engage a really wide range of stakeholders to do the job well. Again, to quote the Code of Practice 6.90, the key responsibilities of the SENDCo may include overseeing the day-to-day operation of the school's SEN policy, coordinating provision for children with SEN, liaising with the relevant designated teacher where a looked-after pupil has SEN. Advising on the graduated approach to providing SEN support. We'll look more about that in other videos. That, assess, plan, do, review. That may be familiar to you. Advising on the deployment of the school's delegated budget and other resources to meet pupils' needs effectively. Liaising with parents of pupils with SEN, and we'll look at videos targeting that in particular. Liaising with early years providers, other schools, educational psychologists, health and social care professionals, and independent or voluntary bodies. So a clear role looking beyond your school walls to other people who can provide that support. Being a key point of contact with external agencies, especially the local authority, and its support services. We'll talk more again in a video specifically about the trials and tribulations and enjoyments of working with a local authority. Liaising with potential next providers of education to ensure that pupils and that parents are informed about options and a smooth transition is planned. And from Year 9, there's a real focus on preparing for adulthood, which again we'll talk about in another video. Working with the head teacher and school governors to ensure that the school meets its responsibilities under the Equality Act 2010 with regard to reasonable adjustments and access arrangements. And again, we'll put a whole video to access arrangements and ensuring that the school keeps the records of all pupils with SEN up to date.